Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence. We go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything, and you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on, it's gonna be fun. All right, guys, today's date, December 18th, 2021, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host and most Will Buchanan on How the Frack We Got Here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense of it all. Before I do get started, let everybody know that this is a family-friendly podcast, which we try to be. So we do try to watch our language, however, sometimes words do fly, and at the same time, there may be things that might be shown that might be too intense for younger viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So, how do we start this? How do we start this? I can only say, for the simple fact of the matter, guys, that anti-vaxxers are weird. Even more so to the point to where they feel like they can walk around without consequences. A good friend of mine brought to my attention the story of a bunch of these two people who decided to be anti-vaxxers activists and roll up on a bakery and decided that they could get one over and then wound up getting arrested themselves. I cannot make this up.
In Eugene, Oregon, that bakery owner has repeatedly told the anti-maskers to leave.
Get out! Right now! I fucking dare you. Get the...
Okay, let's try that again.
Out. What? Get out! Hey! Get the fuck out of here! Fuck you! Get the fuck out of here!
Somebody call the police on this lady.
Fuck you!
Amy. You don't get to fucking assault people and run a business. Yo, we'll be calling the cops on you, don't worry.
You're like fucking back.
Fuck off. You don't get to keep your weapon after you assault someone with it.
The anti-masker speaking is named Ricky Collin. His friend is Amy Hall. Within moments, they were talking with police.
So, this business owner over at Crumble Cookies, that's fine, just assaulted us with this. I have it all live streamed right here. You need to go arrest her.
Collin and Hall then voluntarily shared their videos with the officers.
Is that the first one? Is that the courthouse one?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's literally like that corner space, or maybe the next door down.
And what happened when you first got in there?
Well, we asked her if she offers services to the public, and she said yes, she did. And we said, well, then this is a public accommodation. You can't. And we just tried reasoning with her, letting her know, like we do. We just let her know what the laws are, discrimination and all that. And she got up in my face, shoved me, I shoved her back, and she went behind the counter and grabbed her back.
The police also interviewed the injured business owner, Deidre Sturpey, as she was being treated for bruises and cuts.
Lots of injuries on her face from Amy.
In self-defense.
What's your opinion?
And it was the opinion of the police, after viewing this video and talking with eyewitnesses, that anti-masker Amy Hall should be handcuffed and charged with trespassing and assault.
It's unlawful.
Sorry, I wanted to let her know. The issue we run into is the store owner have the right to refuse service to you and trespass you.
Not under 18 U.S.C. 245.
Right, and that's something you can argue in court, right?
That's something you guys are supposed to know and defend.
So,
It's a federal law.
so let me finish. Just out of respect, I know that there was kind of rocking back and forth. So, they do have the right to trespass. You guys did not leave.
There is no trespass. There is no right to trespass in a public accommodation.
You absolutely argue in court, right?
You just said right. You just acknowledged that.
You can argue that. Okay. You can
So
argue that.
what you guys are doing is an unlawful arrest here.
No. So, but that's why everybody has their due process, right? We all get to go to court and we all.
You realize you're arresting the victim right now, right?
Okay, so you're interrupting me again, and I would like to explain this to you so you can maybe comprehend it somewhat.
The officer tried to warn Ricky Collin that he could also face charges, but he kept arguing. And moments later, he accused the police of engaging in a criminal conspiracy.
Well, this is definitely an unlawful outcome, which is furthering your unlawful racketeering activity. But you guys could just keep doing what you want.
So here's where we're at. Ricky, you're also under arrest, okay? So I don't want this
She
to
said it
fall.
was discretionary.
Okay, I don't want this
And what
to
am
get
I?
broken.
What am
We're
I
gonna
under arrest
just
for?
assault.
I didn't.
The police then took Ricky Collin and Amy Hall to jail. They were processed and given mugshots. The duo admit they sought out the owner of the cookie shop after hearing reports she had chased anti-maskers out of her store. Here's the entire exchange Collin recorded and broadcast live on his social media.
Don't you offer your services to the public?
Yes, but the state requires that you need to be masked in order to come anywhere inside.
You
So
can't-
I can-
You can't deny public services per federal
Yes,
law.
I can.
18. You can violate 18 U.S.C. 245.
I don't know what that is, but it's.
It's a federal law. You're a public accommodation. You just said you're open to the public.
I have the right to display service to anyone.
That's what 18 U.S.C. 245 is exactly about.
My store, I'm asking you to leave.
Do you understand what trespassing means?
You're-
You're trespassing. When I ask you to leave and you don't leave, you're now trespassing.
That's not what
Yes,
trespass
it
is.
is. I wouldn't
Don't-
want you touch me.
Don't touch her.
The worst thing you could do is put your hands on me right now. The absolute worst
I
fucking thing you
Hey!
can do is put your hands on me.
Yeah, don't fucking touch her.
Get out right now. I have the right to use reasonable force once I've asked you to leave and you don't
fucking dare
leave.
you.
Get out. Right now.
I fucking dare you.
Get the fuck out. What? Get out! Ah! Hey, get the fuck out! Fuck you! Fuck you! Get the fuck out!
It's called trespassing.
Fuck you, man! Fuck that!
Somebody call the police on this lady.
Fuck you! Ah!
Amy.
Put your fucking hands on me.
You don't get to fucking assault people and run a business. Yeah, we'll be calling the cops on you. Don't worry.
You're like fucking back.
Fuck off. You don't get to keep your weapon after you assault someone with it. So, this business owner over at Crumble Cookies, that's fine. Just assaulted us with this. I have it all live streamed right here.
In addition to felony assault, Ricky Collin was also charged with robbery for walking off with a baseball bat he showed to police. Legal experts say this is a great example of anti-mask activists who think they know the law but really don't. To be clear, A protester or demonstrator can be on the public sidewalk, but the moment he or she enters a privately owned business, the business owner has the right to enforce requirements, including masks. It's like the sign, no shirt, no shoes, no service. And if you don't leave after being asked to get out, it's trespassing. Ricky Collin has a history of being arrested, which means he likely won't receive any breaks from the judge in this case. As for the bakery called Crumb Together, the owner says that in the wake of this incident, she has gotten more support and business than she imagined was possible. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for listening.
And again, I know that was an apologize for a very long video, but I had to show it because a buddy of mine showed it to me. And again, it just goes to show you, number one, anti-vaxxers who, and I know not all and I not want to say anti-vaxxers, but anti-maskers, those that do not believe in COVID, saying it's a hoax or saying that it's not as bad as they think it is, or why in the world do we need to wear a mask and things of that nature. Look, I'm only talking about the extreme ones, the ones that seek out and go these places and try to impose their will upon businesses. Now, as far as I'm concerned, those two people get everything that's coming to them. I mean, you initially went out to go seek out this place, even though, as you can see on the video, everything said, please wear a mask, no mask holes, things of that nature, full mask only, please. And then you're going in there and saying, are you a public accommodation? Let me explain something about that law they try to use. Public accommodations do not apply to businesses, because businesses, as far as public services go, that's more government related. Public services, such as, your Department of Health, your Child Services, things of that nature. Those are public services. A business is not a public service. So therefore, that archaic law that you try to use doesn't work. But you know what does work? The right to refuse service. As the journalist in the video said, that really supersedes everything else. Once the business or the owner of the business tells you that we ask you to leave, at that point, if you stay, you're trespassing. That's it. The fact that he tried to go over and say, well, she's providing a public service, and therefore this law, it's like, it just goes to show you that for those who think they know the law, they really don't. At the same time, you assaulted that business owner, and it's on live stream, on video. How do you not know anything to the internet never comes down? Ask Beyonce. I'm pretty sure that picture of her of that one mobile, she looks like she's about to do a muscle up. That picture is still circulating on the internet somewhere. It is not gone. It is still out there. So again, what that dumbass did was pretty much put out his evidence for the world to see. I'm kind of curious to see what the court case will be against him. And because he has a history already of this, it's not going to end well for him. Kind of looking forward. I wish I could. I might kind of want to research that and see what actually happens to this dumb tail. But again, for all intents and purposes, guys, if you don't want to wear a mask, that's cool. That's up to you. But understand, as I've said many times in this podcast, the world is going to move on without you. And trust me, businesses are going to start saying, I have the right to refuse service. And honestly, there's not a thing you can do about it except start growing your own food. But moving right along, guys, I did actually want to catch the story as well, because again, with the January 6th investigation happening, there seems to be a lot of text messages going out that happened during the riot. I keep on wanting to say it wasn't a riot. It was a failed coup d'etat by white supremacists. That's what we should be calling it. But anyway, CNN and other outlets are reporting that there is a lot of smoke with these texts, even more so that, this whole thing could have been planned.
More about that text message to former President Trump's then Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, one that outlined a way to deliver the election to Trump before the votes had even finished being counted. 3 sources tell me and my colleague Jamie Gangel, the members of the bipartisan House Select Committee investigating the January 6th insurrection, believe that former Energy Secretary and Texas Governor Republican Rick Perry texted Mark Meadows on November 4th. That's the day after the election. Now, multiple sources who have Perry's phone number and separately databases of phone numbers confirm that the number from which that text was sent, which CNN obtained from a source, that number belongs to Rick Perry. that unsettling text message sent while votes were still being counted in several states. It said, quote, "Here's an aggressive strategy. Why can't the states of Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and other Republican-controlled state houses declare this is BS, where conflicts an election not called that night, and just send their own electors to vote and have it go to SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States." Now, a spokesman for Rick Perry tells us that the former governor denies having sent that text. When asked how he explained the fact that the text came from Rick Perry's phone number, which we confirmed through multiple ways, the spokesman had no explanation. The text message was among more than 6,000 documents that Mark Meadows turned over to the committee. It was made public on Tuesday when Democratic Congressman and January 6th committee member Jamie Raskin of Maryland read the text on the House floor during debate on whether to hold Mark Meadows in criminal contempt of Congress for refusing to testify. Raskin cited the text as evidence demonstrating why the committee needed to interview Meadows about the events leading up to and on January 6th.
How did this text influence the planning of Mark Meadows and Donald Trump to try to destroy the lawful electoral college majority that had been established by the people of the United States and the states for Joe Biden?
We should note, Raskin mistakenly said on the House floor that it was a House lawmaker who sent the text. They do not believe that it was. They believe it was Rick Perry, the committee. After CNN reached out for comment, a source close to Raskin told us that the congressman confirmed that he had actually made a mistake, and he has now written a letter to correct the congressional record. Let's talk more about this with CNN special correspondent Jamie Gangel, my partner in this story. As always, a pleasure working with you. So what do you think is the significance of this text, which was sent the day after Election Day, before many states had even called who won?
My understanding is look, there are a lot of important texts the committee has. This is a very important one because it is November 4th. And aggressive, to use the word in the text, to say the least. Imagine, the election has not been called. The votes have not been counted. And this text message comes to Mark Meadows basically laying the groundwork to overturn the election. It is hard to imagine how this comes from Rick Perry, who is the longest serving governor of Texas 3 times. He served for 2 years as energy secretary in Trump's cabinet. How this impacted what happened between November 4th and January 6th is going to be key to the committee's work.
And it's interesting also because we should note the 3 states that he was calling for, it appeared that he picked them, among other reasons, that they had Republican legislatures.
Absolutely.
And one of them, Trump went on to win, North Carolina. He cites Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. North Carolina, Trump won.
But no one was waiting for the voters
They didn't want
to vote. They were ready to go in, send your own electors, ignore the voters.
And we only have had eyes into a handful of these texts when Mark Meadows turned over 6,000 documents.
So I think this is a very key point, Jake. We know you.
So, just to go ahead and cut that short, but yes, long story short, this is the January 6th Commission looking into all possible avenues. And yes, that it is right now allegedly that the text they're talking about to sit there and suggest that the rest of the other states that have already voted to call BS and overthrow the election to keep Donald Trump in office and to keep Joe Biden from winning the presidency. I don't know about you guys, but that literally is a coup. It is a coup. And if it is true that it did come from Rick Perry, if it is true that he is insinuating that this is what needs to happen, my friends, that is treason of the highest standard, and that everybody involved with it should go along. Keep in mind, they are investigating texts from the former chief of staff Mark Meadows, Fox News consultants, which also they texted as well because they can't stop talking about how their freedoms were violated, not forgetting the fact that the Patriot Act is still active to stay. At the same time, yes, everybody is under contempt because they are eventually going to have to answer to that January 6th committee because, again, we cannot ignore this. And I hate to say it, just because there's a bunch of Mayo people involved, you cannot ignore that it was a failed coup d'etat that they tried to do using a bunch of idiots to go ahead and storm the Capitol that day. And I think that needs to be investigated to the fullest extent. And all those that participated need to testify. They cannot plead the fifth because, let's be honest, when you plead the fifth, you're already looking guilty. That's just being honest with you. But again, this is the reason. You want to know why these folks were able to pull off this coup d'etat so well? Because there are groups out there that honestly, they sound smart. They try to seem smart, but they really sound dumb. Like this group calling themselves Moms for Liberty. If you've never heard of these people, just watch.
Cloth masks do not work. Parents, beware of terms like social justice, diversity, equity, inclusion.
If they ignore our input, we will vote them out.
At rallies and school board meetings across the country, heated debates on everything from masks to critical race theory to book banning are being hashed out.
I think COVID has allowed all of America to see behind the education curtain.
Turns out one of the driving forces behind many of those debates stems from a group founded by these two Florida moms, Tiffany Justice and Tina Descovich. They launched Moms for Liberty in January, a group they say is designed to fight for parental rights in schools and in government.
We just thought we could take the skills that we had learned and the inside information that we had learned about the public education system to help parents advocate more effectively.
The founders say the group is conservative but nonpartisan. Yet many of the issues they're fighting for align with beliefs of Republican lawmakers like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, including eliminating mask mandates in schools.
I don't think
across the country, 520 counties, and they looked at schools that had mask mandates and didn't, and it showed that the masks did work. There are multiple studies that show this. Happy to let you look at them if you would like. They're right here. But when Moms for Liberty are going into the school board meetings to voice their frustration and citing things like masks don't work.
Because they don't.
That's not what the science shows.
Okay. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. Masks are not source control. They do not stop transmission.
But later, Descovich did acknowledge that certain masks do work to a degree.
I mean, we all know that N95 masks do have a level of protection.
Another CDC study in Arizona shows schools without mask mandates were about 3.5 times more likely to have a COVID-19 outbreak over schools with a mask mandate. Another big concern for Moms for Liberty: critical race theory, a concept typically taught in law school that seeks to understand and address inequality and racism in the U.S. The Moms for Liberty New Hampshire chapter offering a $500 bounty for anyone who turns in a teacher using CRT in the classroom. The governor of New Hampshire signed a law in June banning CRT in the K-12 curriculum.
You support or do not support the $500 reward?
Do I think it was the best way to handle the situation? Personally, probably not.
But ultimately, they say they stand by the moms fighting against CRT.
Where is this actually being taught?
Mecklenburg, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Which one? I mean, I hear in the news all the time, it's not being taught. It's not in K-12 schools.
I had a hard time finding it.
Did you? I'll help you after this interview.
After the interview, they provided us with reports from conservative media outlets. They also pointed to this mom appearing at a Charlotte-Mecklenburg school board meeting discussing a lesson plan
That requires my son to examine his white privilege and male privilege.
But in a statement to CNN, the superintendent of Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools told us, quote, "Our schools do not teach and do not promote a doctrine of critical race theory." So what is Moms for Liberty's goal? A chapter in every school district showing up at every school board meeting across the country. And in 11 short months, they're on their way. They say they're now in more than 30 states with more than 160 chapters, mobilizing 70,000 plus members.
Do you consider your organization a force to be reckoned with for the next election?
Yes.
Would you consider yourself a political machine?
No.
As for funding, they'll tell you t-shirt sales.
At this point, it's about half of our funding.
And small donations. Because their organization is so new, tax records still are not available.
It's truly just organic word of mouth and some gentle marketing with t-shirts.
But word of mouth will only get you so far, right? I mean, this does take money. Where does the money come from?
What do you think we're spending money on?
You tell me.
I mean, you're saying this takes money. We're telling you that this is word of mouth.
To meet the financial needs, the organization has been open about its need to raise money. They've established 3 political action committees, and at one of their major fundraising events, sponsors included Florida Republicans running for office. Still, they insist they are not pushing the Republican agenda, rather a parent agenda, one that's against mask and vaccine mandates, as well as CRT.
I liken it back to the growth of the Tea Party movement.
Political commentator Caprica Faro.
It is possible that an organization like Moms for Liberty could have an impact on the midterm elections and maybe even going into 2024, particularly because it is encapsulating in a very important demographic in the electorate, which are women and mothers.
Support Our Schools, a new group of parents in Florida, calls Moms for Liberty a danger to democracy.
The disinformation that they have been putting out and the vitriol towards marginalized groups is a true danger to society, because we need to work together.
The Moms for Liberty arguing they're not alone. It's an entire movement of parents organizing with eyes on Election Day.
20.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next terrorist cell. There's no other way I could say this except the simple fact of the matter is, there's a certain level of just stupidity, I guess you can call it. Moms for Liberty is nothing more than, I hate to say it, a whole bunch of male women that are saying, we're not conservative, but you're saying conservative views. You don't believe in masks, yet you admit that masks do work. You don't like critical race theory, but you can't give us a valid source of where it's being taught. But you also say that you're a small conglomerate, but let's be honest, you got big money coming from somewhere. So it is amazing to me, and that's why I say this is dangerous. This is why I say groups like that are dangerous. Do you want to know why? And I keep telling people all the time, do you want to know why there was such a large group of Trump followers on January 6th? Groups like that will sit there and believe the misinformation, that will only listen to conservative views, even extreme conservative views. I'm talking to you, Blaze, Fox News, Newsmax, ONN. They will always listen to the extreme right because that's where they feel comfortable. It's like, here's the thing about the news. And here's the thing about the news. The news is going to either say things that you're going to agree with, and it's also going to say things that you don't agree with. But what the news should always be is truthful and facts. It should be able to be backed up with respectable sources and undeniable facts. And again, a lot of people, because unfortunately, since the term by that Kellyanne Conway, well, that's an alternative fact. That's an oxymoron. It doesn't exist. You can have something that you could agree with, and there's something out there that you don't have to agree with, but it's still true. I mean, that's the beauty thing. Facts are like science. It's true whether you believe it or not. Whether you agree with it or not, it's still true. But these Moms for Liberty, and that's just one of many conservative groups out there. And of course, there are going to be other like-minded people like them, because think about it is, if you don't believe that we don't need critical race theory taught in schools, which I still think it needs to be, well, if you don't want critical race theory, let's drop social studies and bring back civics. Let's bring back civics into our schools and teach our kids the Constitution. I guarantee you it'll be just as effective as CRT, and they will still have an issue with it. Well, how dare you teach our kids about the Constitution? Yes, the one thing that every American should know, because that's what happens when you inform. When you inform, we become critical thinkers. And for most conservatives, they are not critical thinkers. And that could be related to their education, their upbringing, religious implications, however you decide to look at it. They're not critical thinkers. They're like, this is going to affect our way of life, so we're against it. Don't believe me? Check the South on Confederate battle flags. When the Confederacy flag, the battle flag that was being used, where there was literally a month and a half dedicated to that, because he was like, well, that's our heritage. Your heritage is tied to treason and slavery. That's not what it represents. Well, what does it represent then? And please don't say a Southern way of life, because you sound like a Leonard Skinner band. But that's the reason why I point that out, that groups like that are popular simply put because there's nobody else out there that is stopping, that is simply saying, well, there are others, that's wrong. There are others out there that are speaking against them, but there are so many out there that are buying into that cause. Whereas you can see they have multiple chapters because they're in our schools. They're in our school meetings and saying, this is what we're being taught, but they can't prove anything. Just like when the journalist asked, is there a school system out there that is teaching CRT? It's amazing how they just came out of nowhere. Mecklenburg, New Jersey. But they checked with the school system there. Nobody's teaching critical race theory. But I wonder where they get the news from. Check conservative media. They love to throw out conspiracies. They love to throw out half-truths. They love to throw out inaccurate findings. But people will eat that up. Don't believe me? There are still some people out there that still believe that we don't need to wear masks. There's people out there that still believe that we don't need the vaccine, when the data suggests heavily otherwise. Just saying, this is what we have to deal with. Moving right along, guys. I thought this was crazy, but then again, I'm not surprised about this, that a judge in Louisiana is on unpaid leave and is blaming sedatives because she used racial epitones that was literally put on social media. Again, can't make this up.
And a judge is blaming sedatives for the onslaught of racist slurs used in a video at her home that recently surfaced. Judge Michelle O'Donnell says she is sorry and taking an unpaid leave of absence, but insists that she's not quitting the bench. CNN's Ryan Young joins us now. So Ryan, what else is her attorney and what is she saying right now?
When you think about this, Caitlin, this video is going viral. A lot of people asking questions about what was going on inside this home. And I got to tell you, we bleeped a lot of this audio, but some people may find the language they're about to hear pretty offensive.
A home video showing outdoor surveillance footage of an altercation with a burglary suspect.
I'm like, pull up.
We can't see their faces, but the people are watching and are heard commenting on the video at times using racist language.
And mom's yelling,
"Nigger!" The people who are watching the video are heard using the N-word over and over, and sometimes laughing. At one point, saying the suspect was like a roach. It all took place at the home of Lafayette City Court Judge Michelle Onyette. It is unknown who recorded the video from the inside of the home or who is speaking and how it became public. Now Onyette is facing calls for her resignation.
I was disgusted.
Local advocate and activist Gary Chambers is among those calling for the judge to step down.
This judge in the privacy of her home uses the N-word and refers to people as roaches. That's what she views certain people who come into her courtroom as, and therefore she cannot dispense justice equity.
Lafayette police say early Saturday morning, 2 vehicles parked on the home's driveway were broken into. The suspect tried fleeing but was caught and held down until officers arrived on the scene.
I'm the one that took him down.
Soon after the video became public, Judge Onyette issued a statement to affiliate KATC saying in part, "I was given a sedative at the time of the video. I have zero recollection of the video and the disturbing language used during it. Anyone who knows me and my husband knows this is contrary to the way we live our lives. I am deeply sorry and ask for your forgiveness and understanding."
I don't know any medicine that makes you call somebody an N-word.
Onyette's lawyer telling local media she is now taking unpaid leave.
I know that there are so many people that have said, oh, she was in her private capacity. That matters not to me because a black robe does not hide what's obviously in her heart. And we all know, the entire country knows what she thinks about African Americans at this point.
The chairman of the Louisiana Legislative Black Caucus is calling for Onyette's immediate removal, and the local NAACP chapter issued a statement saying in part, "We call now for her immediate and uncompromising resignation. We demand swift and immediate act by the Judiciary Committee of the Louisiana Supreme Court, removing her from office."
We have requested from the Louisiana Judiciary Commission to place an ad hoc judge there There's precedent. They've done it before when other racist judges have made comments. You know, I respect the due process, and I will allow for the Judiciary Commission to make their investigation and their findings. But if they don't, I'll be bringing them to the table here at the legislature, because they have to come and answer to us anyway.
So again, I'll be the first person to say it, guys. Again, yeah, a lot of people are going to sit there and say, yeah, well, she was in her home. Yes, you are in your home. You know, your home is supposed to be your safe space. It's supposed to be your comfy place. It's where you sit on your butt. I get that. The thing about it is just that, well, number one, it got viral. And if you don't want, and I'm sorry, if you don't want what you say in your home for other people to find out, maybe you should make sure it doesn't get posted on social media. I'm just saying. But again, what the lawyer is saying in that one, the advocates are saying, is they're right as well. It's like, if this is her behavior at home, and let's be honest, and you know what, you can argue this from sun up to sundown. You can't say that your behaviors at home may or may not affect you at your work. I know for me it does. I mean, working from home for almost a year plus, it's like, yeah, does my work at home, does my home behavior affect my work? Yes, it does, because now I've gotten accustomed to working from home. I can't imagine walking back into an office now. I can't imagine working back in my IT lab now. Not when I can, get up, walk about 20 feet, and next thing you know, I'm at my desk. Yes, my behaviors at home have affected my work. The same way that this judge, her behaviors at home, you don't think that doesn't affect her work? I'll be the first person to say, oh, it absolutely does. And again, it is going to put a spotlight on every case she's been over. It's going to have a judicial review on every case that she presided, every way she ruled, every one of those cases. If you had a court case under her that you felt like you were treated unfairly, that case, there's going to be so many appeals that are going to be written just because of this judge. And like I said, again, what you say in your home is what you say in your home. The problem is, once it's out, yes, it does show an exact amount of behavior. And if your behavior is racist, is how you see Black people, and how it's calling them roaches and things of that nature, then yes, you have to account for that, because it's out there. So again, for all those that want to say negative things about stereotypes about other races, maybe you shouldn't do so when it can be put on social media, because everything is social now. And now that judge is on unpaid leave. But one thing that bothered me about that whole thing is she blamed on sedatives. What is it about white people when something goes horribly racist wrong, they either blame alcohol, sedatives, or a bad day? I'm sorry, we don't really get to do that for Black people. I've never seen a Black person blame alcohol when they called somebody out their name, or when they insulted someone with a racial epithet, or when they've done assaulted women. Again, why is it only that why only with white people that you can turn around and sit there and say, oh, well, I was drinking? Really? Drinking never made me do that? Sedatives, from my understanding, sedatives put you out. I've never heard of someone being given a sedative and they're still awake. Last time I checked, when they give you a sedative, that's pretty much one ticket to Naptown, population U. But the fact of the matter, she tried to stay and blame sedatives on it, was probably a weak sauce argument, weak sauce explanation. And yes, she's on an unpaid leave of absence for now. But yeah. The judicial review board is really going to have to take a scrutinizing look at her. And at the same time, it's like, if there is smoke, usually when there's smoke, there's a whole lot of fire somewhere. But we'll follow up with that story as it is reported. But speaking of things, guys, I know because we are within the last week before Christmas, the Kim Potter case is still going on. The former officer who mistaken her firearm for a taser and the killer of Daunte Wright took the stand today. And I just want to show something really quick as far as her testimony, and let me know if you see some comparisons to a previous case.
they're still struggling, and I can see Sergeant Johnson and the driver struggling over the gear shifts because I can see Johnson's hand and then I can see his face.
And you knew Johnson for many years before this, is that right?
Yes.
And by looking at his face at that point in time, what did you interpret it to mean?
He had a look of fear on his face. It's nothing I've seen before.
Did you say anything when you saw this? What did you do?
We were struggling. We were trying to keep him from driving away. It just went chaotic. And then I remember yelling, "Taser, taser, taser," and nothing happened. And then he told me I shot him.
Can you proceed or do you?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. After the driver said you shot him, do you remember what you said, or do you? If you don't remember, did you look at the video and see what you said? Or do you actually remember what you said? I guess is my question, not with help from a video.
I don't remember what I said.
And what do you remember next, if anything?
They had an ambulance for me, and I don't know why. And then I was at the station. I don't remember a lot of things afterwards.
Do you remember saying something about prison?
No.
If you did say that, do you have any idea now why you would say that?
No.
Was the climate back then about police officers a little rough?
The objection is sustained.
All right. You don't remember saying it,
No.
and you don't know why you said it.
No.
Do you remember the response that our Sergeant Johnson or Major Johnson gave you?
No.
And when next do you remember what happened, if anything, if you remember?
I remember getting an ambulance, and then I was at the station.
Oh, Lord. And all I can sit there and say is, ladies and gentlemen, the Academy Award goes to Kim Carter. The reason why I wanted to point that out, because as far as her testifying and taking the stand, the comparison to Kyle Rittenhouse, the whole, I mean, that's what it felt like. It felt like the whole comparison of, oh, as I'm explaining what I did, let me go ahead and get the tears going so you can see that I'm remorseful about my decision. That whoever, I don't know, the same people that was training Kyle Rittenhouse are the same people probably trained Kim Carter, because again, they think that, oh, let me appear remorseful on the stand about what I did. And that's why, most people sit there and say, oh, it's all an act. But I'm like, yeah, but Kyle Rittenhouse is free. And again, Kim Carter, even though on video, she took out her gun saying taser, 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 and fired a shot, killing Daunte Wright, it's almost along the same lines. It's like, will she? I was like, and again, I hate to say this. There's always that thought in the back of her head where it goes, is it possible that she could probably walk? And yes, there is that possibility. I mean, yes, she was already, she's already fired from the police department. She's no longer a police officer. But honestly, that is a meaty thing. I mean, let's just play devil's advocate and say that she's acquitted of killing Daunte Wright. Who's not to sit there and say that she won't turn around and reapply for law enforcement somewhere else? May not be in the same city, but definitely a different, a no-name town, a different state in a no-name town. Nobody knows who you are. You can be law enforcement all over again. But the thing that bothers me, like I said before, is the comparison. Is just that she's doing the same thing Kyle Rittenhouse did, which is like a playbook for white people to get out of jail. That's what it looks like. Now, do I think that this will help her? I do not. But do I acknowledge that the possibility is still there that she may walk? Yes. But again, it's amazing that with everything that suggests otherwise, that this should be an open and shut case. But again, they're trying to wrap up this case before Christmas, so we shall see what happens next. Shifting gears for a second, guys. I did want to talk about abortion and that the Supreme Court, even though conservative leaning, may actually may make altercations to Roe versus Wade, which basically certifies abortion in all 50 states, where now they are starting to allow states to make up their own minds about abortion, which again, how the Texas abortion law is still standing. And there are other states who are simply waiting on the Supreme Court to make a ruling, are poised to set up their own abortion laws as well. However, the FDA, realizing this, have given an alternative for women as far as getting an abortion pill, and it looks like it can be done by mail.
Is allowing the so-called abortion pill to be delivered by mail now. It lifts a restriction that required providers to dispense the drug in person to women. The move comes as the Supreme Court appears poised to deliver a blow to federal abortion rights and leave regulations up to the states. So what does this mean? Let's bring in ABC's senior national policy reporter, Ann Flaherty, who's joining us live for more. So, Ann, the Biden administration decided to go ahead and say this is now going to be able to be obtained by women through the mail. How big a deal is that?
Well, I think it's huge. I think it opens up a whole new frontier in the abortion debate. So this is the drug, Terry, mifepristone, that it blocks the hormones that a woman needs to support a pregnancy. It's taken within 10 weeks. And up until recently, you had to go into a hospital or a clinic and physically pick up that pill. Now, in 19 states, they do require you by state law that a physician has to be present when you take this drug. The FDA decision does nothing to override those state laws, and those are women mostly in the South, so they will not have access to this. But for the rest of the country, women are going to be able to go into a pharmacy, do a telehealth appointment, and get it mailed to them. It makes it significantly easier for women, particularly in rural areas of this country, or women who simply don't have the time or the resources to get to a clinic. They can get this through the mail now.
And the argument of abortion rights advocates is this protects that constitutional right still that women have to choose to have an abortion. Opponents say that there are safety issues here. That's why those states, as you point out, require women take the pill in front of a doctor. What are the risks here?
Well, every medication has risk. This has been on the market for 20 years now. The FDA says this is extraordinarily safe, and it's very, very effective. But certainly there are risks. For example, if you have an ectopic pregnancy, if you have certain medical conditions, they still want you to be screened by a certified health provider before you get access to this drug. So this is certainly not something that is being deregulated entirely. They haven't removed all the restrictions on this. It's just going to be easier to get it, to take it in a private way.
And we know that the Supreme Court is looking at the whole issue of women's right to choose abortion under Roe versus Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey. And listening to those arguments, it does not look good for the future of Roe versus Wade and the right to choose. What potential impact on this decision by the FDA to provide this so-called abortion pill to women through the mail? What could a Supreme Court decision have on that?
Well, certainly it would allow these states to criminalize these pills, because these pills would abort an early pregnancy. And this is why I say it's a new frontier, because I think that with this decision by the FDA, The FDA is not, they're not going to pass policy or laws. They're going to say what is safe and what can be done. So now the move, it really goes into these states. And I think you're going to start to see certain states try to pass laws or try to make it easier or tougher for women to get access to this pill. Well, one of the questions that we have is in a place like Texas, they've already said that this pill cannot be administered to any woman in Texas after 7 weeks. So, but can a woman go on, do a telehealth appointment with a doctor in California, for example, and give them a California address and have it delivered there? It becomes very, very difficult to try to police this and enforce this. There's even a charity that's out of, or an organization that's out of Europe that says that they will send these pills to women. Now, the FDA is very clear. They don't want women going online to buy medication. They don't think it's safe. But I think that's where we're headed, is some women will look to circumvent these state laws if they try to criminalize these pills.
And we could have.
And you can't blame women for that. Just because we, as I said before, I do like the idea that FDA is going to go ahead and move forward with this about allowing the abortion pills in the mail, just because, again, it seems in this country in 2021, we are still arguing over women's rights, but yet men are allowed to do whatever they want. I mean, if you want to know my stance on it, my stance is still the same. I'm still pro-choice. What a woman does with her body is her own, is what is up to her, and it's her own business. The choices and consequences are ultimately up to her. I still sleep fine whether a woman decides to have a child or not have a child. It is completely up to her. But it's amazing the standards we're putting out there saying, well, what about the Bible? What about this? What about the... If you're so concerned about pro-life, that's the thing about pro-life people kill me. That if pro-life people, if you're so concerned about babies being born and not, the babies not being defended or whatnot, why are orphanages still full? Why are child services still dealing with multiple cases of actually finding child a home? Why are the same pro-life people arguing against same-sex parents actually being parents, being adoption parents? Because it sounds like you're not really pro-life. It's like you're pro-choice on a few things, but you seem pro-life, but you're really not. But again, with abortion laws, and unfortunately, it looks like Roe versus Wade, with the way the Supreme Court is leaning, may turn around and actually put a blow to the federal law standing on that one. I think that women should be given every opportunity, every choice it is, because in Texas, they got bounty hunters on folks who will come out and sit there and say, hey, this person's trying to get an abortion. I mean, that alone is crazy and dangerous. And at the same time, it's a dangerous precedent for women. So I am all for the FDA allowing the abortion pill by mail, because again, as far as contraceptives and protection, things of that nature, women should not be barred from getting the help that they ask for and request. That's just me. If you don't like it, well, hey, you feel free to disagree. Moving right along, guys, I did want to actually cover this as well. Kellogg's may have actually listened to the people, and there might be a tentative deal in place to end the strike that starts since October 5th.
New deal for Kellogg's workers after being on strike for more than 2 months, and the cereal giant hiring replacements. Deirdre Bolton joins us with when they could vote and possibly return to work during the holidays. Good morning, Deirdre.
Good morning, Amy. This new deal could pave the way for these 1,400 striking workers to return to work 2 days after Christmas. So the tentative agreement between the union and the company comes just a few weeks after Kellogg's announced its intention to replace all the striking workers at its 4 cereal plants if a deal could not be reached. The union, whose employees walked off the job in October, says progress has been made on several key fronts, including cost of living wage adjustments and removing the term legacy employee. So this agreement is expected to go to vote on Sunday and be tallied next Tuesday. Amy?
So again, I have been saying this, guys, that again, in this day and age, the rise of the power of labor, or especially workers, is definitely rising. As you can tell, that a lot of people between October and November of this year definitely left their jobs. So it is a workers' market. It's not an employer's market. Even more so, that the importance of unions. I cannot stress this enough. Unions work. Unions, anytime a corporation sits there and says, well, we don't need a union, like Starbucks, we don't need a union. Why not? Because unions hold corporations accountable. There is actually As much as we say there are laws and regulations and things of that nature out there, there is really nothing holding corporations responsible. Unions are, especially for the workers. As you can see with Kellogg's, as you saw with John Deere factories, because their strike wasn't too long ago. Kellogg's strike may be ending depending on the vote goes vote goes tomorrow. And like I said before, unions work. Unions got us a lot of things. 40-hour work week, paid time off, making sure that you have the insurance that you need. And yes, union dues are a pain, but you didn't expect the union just to not function. I mean, everybody pours into it in order to keep it going because the union is basically fighting for your rights. So if you're not a part of a union, feel free to start one. I tell my Dell story all the time since I worked at Dell. And trust me, if Michael Dell ever watches this podcast, he is welcome to either agree or disagree with what I'm saying, but we all know the truth that Michael Dell hates unions. When I worked at Dell a long time ago, you couldn't mention the word union. If you did, somehow they were always scared of the fact that if Michael Dell ever found out that one of his locations was trying to unionize, he would immediately close down location, terminate all jobs, and move all that to another site. Michael Dell, if you're watching this, feel free to argue with me if you want to, but that is the truth. But this is why I sit there and say, guys, that unions work. Unions are possible. Unions are what actually keep workers on the same line. Because let's be honest, a CEO compared to his workers in the USA makes close to 400 to 500 times more than his employee makes. Don't believe me? Look at Kellogg's. Kellogg's CEO, just to make an example, Kellogg's CEO made $11 million in profits. Made 11 million. The CEO did. Now, profit-wise, Kellogg's made still close to $1 billion in a pandemic setting. They still made well over $1 billion in profits. The CEO's salary was over 11 million, but yet the workers' pay and their benefits did not increase. In fact, it decreased while their work production increased to 7 days a week, 16-hour shifts, and no time off. Again, there needs to be a shift in the worker-employer society in America. And I am all for the fact that people are realizing that, hey, this job isn't worth it. And especially, also, like, not only is this job isn't worth it, but at the same time, if a union's not there, we're going to make one there. And I love that because Starbucks is doing the same thing. And I wish that almost every industry had a union. Almost every business had a union. Even if one day I'll start a business myself, if my employees want to start a union, I'll support it. Please, by all means, do so. Hold me accountable. That's the whole thing. That's the mindset that, most employers should have. Hold me accountable. I want to make sure you guys get everything you need, but still hold me accountable via union. But again, I digress. However, speaking of the stupidest things that could ever be done, but yes, it always happens in conservative states. To combat critical race theory, I know a lot of states have actually introduced laws that ban critical race theory, even though critical race theory has never been taught in schools except law schools. But now there is a Republican bill that is going to limit, and especially in Oklahoma is trying to get passed, how to limit slavery being taught in schools. I'm going to start changing this show that I wish I could. I'm going to start changing this show to how the frack we got here. I should just change it to I wish I could make this up.
State Representative Jim Olson talking to News 4 over the phone on Wednesday about this bill that he filed at the state capitol earlier this week.
Doesn't prohibit anybody from teaching that America had slavery, that it was evil, and that we're better for. It doesn't prohibit teaching that we're better for not having slavery.
But the bill does prohibit Oklahoma universities and school districts from teaching components of the 1619 Project, including any teaching that America has more culpability in general than other nations for the institution of slavery, that one race is the unique oppressor in the institution of slavery, and that another race is the unique victim in the institution of slavery.
There are some that teach that the whole purpose in the founding of America was to initiate and perpetuate slavery. And, that's not true.
But some educators speaking out against the bill, like OU's chapter of the American Association of University Professors, writing on Twitter, "This is very disturbing," going on to say, "We have no intention of lying to our students
or bowing to this assault on truth and academic freedom.
I specifically put in the text of the bill that they can teach we had slavery, that it was bad. So no, they would not be required to lie.
Democrats at the Capitol, like Representative Forrest Bennett, calling the bill embarrassing and a waste of time.
I desperately wish that our legislature would do more with the immense power that we have to help people. This doesn't help people. It does nothing to further the conversation about race, and I think it's an important one to have. And it also distracts from so many of the other issues that are facing Oklahoma today.
So again, it's like, it's amazing how they want to make sure it's like, don't teach CRT, but don't teach actual history. I mean, you can teach slavery was bad, but don't say that it was because white people decided to basically take a race they seemed inferior and saw that there were multiple applications that they could get them to do anything and not pay them. But don't say that. That's bad. Slavery's bad, but we can't say that, you know, the entire labor workforce that's now in America was kind of based off that. But don't say that. It is, you know what? It's amazing to me that they keep saying. They keep saying that we want to teach history. But here's the thing about history. History is not all rosy. America's history is not rosy at all. There are a lot of great spots. There are a lot of dark ones, sometimes even heinous ones, sometimes even those that make us wonder how as a human race we're able to do this to each other. But for some odd reason, Mayo people believe that we should not teach. Well, not all. And when I say Mayo people, I don't mean all white people. I do mean there's a certain specific group of Mayo people. I'm talking about them. So just to clear that out. So, you know, if this ain't you, we're not talking about y'all. But there are certain Mayo people out there that just believe that, oh, we don't want to teach that the entire white race, our ancestors were bad. Every minority out there will be like, yeah, okay. So you don't want to, it's like, so you don't want to go out there and talk about how your ancestors probably got a lot of things wrong. Okay, good luck with that. Because again, we have to, in order for us to move forward, and I know I forgot who said it, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Hence, how we're doing this now. Check racism. If we do not learn from it, we are doomed to repeat it. How is it in 2021 we still have racism? In the same areas, not just Jim Crow, not just the Jim Crow in the South, but almost everywhere where racism has happened. How have we not learned from it? I mean, a lot of us have, but some of us are sticking to it like it never happened. And even more so, we are sitting there putting out laws and things of that nature. So there says, oh, you can teach this, but don't teach that. This is why I sit there and say for most kids, I said for most schools, if it was up to me and I was a part of the board, I would cut social studies. I would cut social studies and bring back civics. I would. And I'll be honest, and I'll also be honest, the kids should actually see history for what it is. The good, the bad, the ugly, because I know when I was in public school, from grades 5, when especially from grades 4 to 12. Oh, the teachers there gave us the true, ugly, brutal history of America in all of it, in all sides. It wasn't all rosy, which is why I don't know why some people want the rosy side of America's history. They don't want to get the fact that yes, we had concentration camps. We basically had internment camps for Asian, Japanese, and Chinese Americans. We actually did enslave Black people. We actually did have heinous acts out there. But yet, for some odd reason, they don't want to talk about that because it always seems to be that the main culprit behind most of these acts were Caucasian. So again, this is the reason why I point this out, guys, that the simple fact of the matter is, in order for us to move forward as a society, we have to embrace our history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just because some white folks don't like it shouldn't keep us from moving forward, because unless we learn from it, it's never going to change. We're going to still keep having the same arguments and the same discussions until we all decide that there is no good or bad side to it. It's the truth and the fact that we need to accept it. Well, at least most of us. But moving right along, guys, as we're getting to our last two stories for our feel good segment, I did want to talk about this as well, that Black leaders are pushing Biden in the White House for more voting rights. Keep in mind, guys, the voting rights that were pushed in there, like the America Voting Rights Act, that was actually shot down in the Senate. And of course, the Other Rights Act was also shot down. Keep in mind that that was supposed to be a partisan act for both voting rights, which again, they were both passed in the House, but they both failed in the Senate. So now Black leaders are pretty much saying, because again, I keep telling you guys all this, midterms are coming up next year. I've been saying this since March or May of this year, that midterms in 2022, midterms, which means that the Senate and the House will both be up for re-election. All seats will be up for re-election. Republicans are wanting to do, a Republicans' only goal is to disrupt the Democratic majority. If they get the House, cool. If they get the Senate, cool. If they get both, even better. Reason being, because the Republicans have done nothing more than vote no and have not introduced a bill, have not tried to work with Democrats, because they believe that some of them believe in that bipartisan crap, Joe Manchin. But pretty much what Republicans are waiting for is the midterms. So they can sit there and say, has your life improved under Joe Biden? Has your life improved under the Democrats? Are you still struggling? Are bills still high and things of that nature? Trust me, that PR campaign is coming, because they're going to try to get back those that voted for Joe, because again, nobody wanted to vote for Trump. So now you have a whole bunch of people, especially conservatives, that are going to come forward and say, hey, vote for us. You saw what the Democrats did. Nothing got done. And to the conservatives' point a little bit, nothing got done because, well, the Democrats, much like different than Republicans, can't seem to agree until the party line. Manchin and Sinema. I mean, if it wasn't for them, I would almost be certain that both the Build Back Better plan would have been passed by now. It's on hold till next year. That we could have probably gotten away with increasing the minimum wage. We could have gotten the infrastructure bill passed months ahead. I mean, the infrastructure bill was only passed back in near the end of November. Sorry. So again, Republicans do have a lot of ammo, but if people do buy into it, the scary part is, what if the Republicans do get a majority in the Senate? Which means good old Mitch McConnell will be Senate Majority Leader again, and then we're going to have the same impasse that we did under Trump, that Democrats control the House, Republicans control the Senate, but Biden and Harris will still be in office in the presidential office. Does that create a deadlock? Does that create a gridlock for us? Yes, it absolutely does. But trust me, this is the reason why I keep saying that for Black folks, because we did actually turn Georgia blue. Georgia, usually being a predominantly Republican state, was turned blue because the outpouring of Black votes for Raphael Warnock and Joel Ossoff. So that being said, those same Black people are looking at Joe like, we need our voting right. We need voting rights to be installed for us, because these states, mostly Republican-controlled states, are changing the laws. They are gerrymandering, they are redistricting, they are purging voter blocks, they are making it harder to vote by mail or vote by proxy or drop in mail. They are doing all these things because and of course, Republicans always say election security. Because we want to make sure that there's no voters fraud, that there's not ineligible votes, that legal people aren't voting, which again, none of those facts were substantiated in the last election. In fact, the last election was probably the most safest election we've ever had in years. But the only times where there were fraudulent votes or illegal votes seemed to be conservatives voting for Trump. Those are the ones that were caught. I have yet to see one where votes were made for Biden. So again, the Republicans are trying to move the goalposts and trying to make it harder for minorities to vote. Hence why Black leaders are going to Joe Biden saying, hey, we need to have voting rights installed. Now, I have simply been saying this, guys. We should have voting rights already. We should already have every American citizen should be automatically registered to vote. It shouldn't be the fact that you have to keep on registering to vote. Every American should be automatically registered to vote. In fact, the voting actually for the election day should be actually a federal holiday. So everybody doesn't have to worry about going to work and then running to the polls after work just to vote. We should have mail-in voting. Every option to vote should be available to every American. That should be simple. We should honestly be trying to make our democratic process for voting simpler. We should not be making it more complicated, because the simpler it is, the more people that'll vote. Because if it hasn't been obvious by now, your vote matters. You know, despite how a lot of people out there may feel, oh, my vote doesn't count, my vote doesn't do this. Yes, it does. We have just seen in the previous election, every vote counts. We have just seen in the special election in Georgia, every vote counts. So please miss me with the BS that sit there and says that every vote doesn't count. Every vote does count. Even if your vote did not matter, why are they working so hard to make sure that you can't, or make it more difficult for you to do it? You know, instituting ID cards, instituting a voter card, and instituting all this stuff just to make it harder for you to vote. That's why I keep saying Biden and others should be trying to do this. But again, that goes right back to the filibuster that I talked about months ago. And unfortunately, Joe is going to walk that centrist line again about not doing the filibuster out of fear that if Republicans do get back in power, that can be used against them. You want to make sure they don't get back in power? Complete your promises. That's always what they're saying. Eliminate student debt, increase the minimum wage, actually get protections for minorities and women out there. If you did all that, Joe, within the next couple of months, you would have certified the Democrats will win the midterms election by landslides. But we will see. That also being said, guys, the last story I got that I want to talk about again about, you know, for all of us who are buying food these days and wondering why food is so freaking high. Well, it's only because, well, they try to blame it on supply and demand, but let's also be honest. Food suppliers are blaming inflation for price hikes, and lawmakers are saying they're padding the bill. Again, this is why I keep saying that it's not about just the fact that, yes, the pandemic has hit workers, especially in meatpacking factories, things of that nature, that may have slowed down production or may have actually pulled it to a grinding halt. That being said, however, does not prevent these companies from raising prices on everything to still make a profit. For example, I don't know about you guys, but because I do follow businesses a lot, and I have yet to see some business actually report that they've taken a loss. Matter of fact, most businesses in the pandemic have actually made a profit. Why? They've increased prices. Not the fact that they've increased prices because of supply. They've increased prices because they can do so without penalty. And again, that's what Senator Elizabeth Warren was saying, is that they are passing on the cost to their customer. A lot of companies are, and you can tell. I mean, foods, including fruits, meats, veggies, things of that nature, have increased. Even going out to eat, those prices have increased. If you order off DoorDash, Uber Eats, all those places, those prices have increased. Everything has gone up but your paycheck because these companies have been able to get away with it, and simply there is no recourse, which Biden did actually say that they are launching an investigation into this because they want there needs to be answers. Why have price increases happen in this pandemic area where your profits are still high? And I know people are going to say, well, it's the law of supply and demand. Yes, but there's also such a thing as price gouging. And that's what a lot of these companies are doing. And hopefully they will get looked into, because it's just not cool. It's just not. I mean, for example, you should have to decide between food or lights or utilities, or that's utilities, the same thing, but gas in your car, making payments, things of that nature. When your food bill, kind of doubles or increases, sometimes triples, depending on your family needs, things of that nature, there are some companies that need to be held accountable, because I've yet to see a company say that they had a loss. Just saying. But That's really going to do it for the story. So we're going to move on to our feel good segment, because usually on How the Frack We Got Here, we usually cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom. Sometimes make you lose your faith in humanity, but hey, it's the weekend. It's Saturday. It's, for a lot of us, that's our days off, especially with the holidays coming up. And if it's not your day off, then hopefully your shift that you're working will be quick. But I always want to find 3 good stories on the weekends, something to put a smile on your face, a song in your heart, and a spring in your step. And I think I did this, especially because this one I did show during the midweek review about a waitress who got a very, very nice tip from a group of Secret Santas.
Inside the Silver Diner, Marylanders are sipping their cups of coffee. Or for some, hot chocolate with extra whip.
We look forward to coming here. The wait staff is great.
Thank you. That includes Roxana Salinas.
She wants coffee.
Last week, she received an early Christmas present, a tip unheard of for a $25 check.
They put on the side and say, we're going to give you an extra tip. And I saw all the cash, the hundreds, 20s, 10. And I say, are you sure this for me? I say, yes.
$910.
They get up and hug me, and they were crying with me. They say, oh, Roxana, you make us cry. I say, I'm sorry, but this is so beautiful,
The stocking stuffer came from a group of do-gooders wanting to make someone's day brighter.
It's like God, send me that gift special to me, It's like appreciation, of life.
Customers here say it couldn't have gone to a better server.
She's so giving, and we just love to see her. She brightens our day when we come in.
If I can see you, Merry Christmas, okay? Ben, yes, I see him pretty much every day. Good.
The Secret Santas told Salinas they're not done giving. They're planning to strike again somewhere this holiday season.
Those people are angels, and just not for me, for somebody else as well.
In Elkridge, Tommy Clark.
So again, guys, Secret Santas are out there. You don't believe me? I've definitely seen them in action. And it's just the whole thing of like random acts of kindness. That's really all that it is. And I love the fact that, if you have, like I keep saying this all the time, if you have the ability to make somebody's life great, whether it's a minute, day, an hour, or lifetime, go ahead and do so. The world could use more random acts of kindness, especially with Secret Santas. I did a story last year about a Secret Santa that was just dropping, he was just dropping $500 on people. A millionaire, I guess we won't say millionaire, but let's be honest, you're dropping $500 on people, you're well off. But he was just giving out money. And again, it's just one of those things. It's not about putting it on social media, about doing a good deed. It's not about, saying I'm helping out the world, things of that nature. But sometimes just the impact that you could have on somebody, it doesn't always have to be monetary. You can actually do other stuff as well. But it's the fact of the impact that you have. That's what's actually gonna help us as a society. This other one I did want to show because, again, I don't know much about diving, the sport of diving. I do know it's an Olympic sport. I do know that, a lot of people, you got to have some nerves, especially at high dive. That high dive that people jump off of and go screaming down into a pool of water and doing certain twists and rotations and really complex movements, that takes nerves of steel. But what I did know that this year, that again, in moments of Black history, that we can actually celebrate this. I'm talking about this woman here, Kristen Hayden, which I did not know became the first Black woman to win the national title. She was a recent transfer in a university, and apparently she has become the USA Diving's first Black female national Black champion and first ever Black U.S. diver to qualify for the World Championships. This is actually her here. I know it's a short video, but we're gonna play it again. So yeah, that's actually her as she will be competing. I guess a synchronized competition with her and her partner, but that was actually there. But I definitely wanted to give her moment to shine. Kristen Hayden, because again, we should always celebrate everything. I just love to see, and I'm never gonna shy away from saying this. I just love to see Black people win. I love to see Black people win. Whether I like you or not, I still love to see Black people win. That just gives me hope. That just lets me know that, everything eventually is going to be all right. The last story I got, guys, is just that this is actually following the tornadoes that have hit the Midwest, especially Kentucky and Tennessee. This story is about, I love to see stories where when disaster happens that people will still come together and help each other out in situations like this. And this is actually covering what happened in Kentucky.
Hear the grace, the giving, America strong. In Mayfield, Kentucky, volunteers helping in any way they can. In Bowling Green, Kitty Williams holding the message, the best place to be is together. And we went to meet the first responders, the doctors treating the victims, the smell of candles when they arrived at the hospital.
An extra level of surreal was the smell in the ER, because one patient would smell like Christmas cookies and the other one would smell like cinnamon, and it was really bizarre.
Rescuers were saying they could smell the vanilla candle in
Yeah,
the
that's
air.
right. Yeah, I mean, at one point, gingerbread flooded through the ER, and we realized we had more patients coming in. So it's
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Those doctors did not give up. And one of the patients, Jim Douglas.
How you doing, Jim?
You'll remember he told us he was trapped at the very bottom of that twisted steel at the candle factory. The rescuers forming a human chain to pull him out.
What would you say to them now?
What I wanted to say, thank you. I mean, all of them. I just think that every one of them was there from nobody else, from me, you guys. Thank you. You don't even know me, and you risked your life because it was dangerous. Every one of them. And I truly appreciate it.
And the grandmother, Tina, huddled over her grandchildren, 3 years old and 14 months. And the sign on part of the wall still standing, Amazing Grace.
You gotta believe there's so many people that lost their lives, and I'm just thankful. That's why I tell everybody, I said, we're thankful that we still have our lives. We can rebuild.
We're so moved by their strength, and we'll stay on it.
Yeah, especially after that, because that was an EF. Actually, come to find out, that was an EF3 tornado that tore through Kentucky for 200 plus miles. Now, as a person who has seen a tornado, trust me, you see an EF3, that might have you change your priorities in life. That's all I'm going to sit there and say. But glad those folks were able to, volunteers able to come together and try to give comfort, try to help those folks heal. And like I said, definitely trying to help out those areas. And of course, not only in Kentucky, but in Tennessee, but in Georgia and other areas that were hit as well. But that being said, guys, that's going to do it for this podcast. So I do thank you all for watching, for liking, for letting people know that we're live. I certainly appreciate that. Before I do get out of here, some shameless plugging, as I usually say I do. I want to start with my buddy, Big VZA Dot, which you can find him on his, currently right now he's on Christmas vacation, but he definitely will be back in the new year. But in the meantime, you can catch the best of both his shows, Avon Westboot on Facebook, Big VZA Dot on socials, where you can catch the best of Smoking Trailer Sundays every Sunday from 6:30 to 9 p.m., in which he goes over movies and video games and things of that nature that he finds interesting and wants to share it with you. He also has the RAF podcast, like America's Funniest Home Videos, except done by World Star, which definitely means only for the grown and intended, every Tuesday from 6:30 to 9 p.m. He also does random things like making plays from his games, from his gaming channel, and other stuff that he finds interesting, especially the versus battles. But definitely check him out, Devon Westman on Facebook or Big VZA Dot on all socials. Also, shout out to Ari and Gee, present Geek Salad, two other podcasting brethren I met this year, very good group of guys that talk about everything from pop culture and actually beyond, and they are definitely unfiltered when they talk about it. But definitely check them out on Facebook as well as YouTube. Ari and Gee present Geek Salad. Actually, of course, the YouTube video is showing right there, a YouTube page showing right there. But Geek Salad the same on Facebook. But definitely check them out and like and share and let them know because we want to thank them for allowing us to share our podcast on their pages. Really appreciate it, guys. Now, as far as me messing up completely on segues here, the link that's scrolling at the bottom, if you copy and paste that in your browser, will take you to my link tree that has all of my Facebook and YouTube groups for all of my podcasts, How the Frack We Got Here, Get Bit, and of course the Alchemist Podcast. Of course, my IG handle over in the corner, BlackBox447. You can follow me there on Instagram as well as all other medias. Yes, I finally joined TikTok. I finally joined Snapchat and all those other areas. You can definitely follow me there because I do like to post a lot of stuff, personal reviews on movies and video games, television shows. I do post some gym stuff sometimes because, you know, I do a couple push-ups. Aside from that, I like to also post inspirational stuff, and I'm funny, you know, 2 out of 7 times. Definitely like to follow me there. Nothing has changed, guys. We are still going to keep going through this Christmas holiday. So yes, there will be an Off Limits podcast. I know I've been very lax about that, but we will have an Off Limits podcast very soon. Also, at the same time, guys, we will have a Wednesday midweek review of, again, How the Frack We Got Here. And yes, we will have a Christmas Eve episode of Get Bit. Yes, this train is still going to keep rolling regardless of where Santa is this time. So with that being said, the last thing I'll say to you guys before I get out of here is please get vaccinated. There is no excuse anymore. The shots are free. The boosters are free. We've seen the Omicron variant come out there, and it's just as deadly as the rest of them. And again, we've seen hospitals fill back up again with folks who refuse to get the vaccine but want medical treatment. Guys, let's make it easier on our hospitals, our critical care systems, and on those that need life-saving medical treatment. Those that still come in the hospital for kidney dialysis, those that come in for renal treatments, those that come in for life-saving surgeries such as transplants or blood infusions. We need to be able to make sure that these people's lives are not interrupted, simply put, because there's a person in there that is still keeping up a bed that's on COVID. So, again, there's no excuse. Please get vaccinated. Please get the booster. Please wear a mask when you're out and about, because when you protect yourselves, you protect others. And that's how we're going to get through this pandemic. It is no longer an and or an if. We definitely need to be all in. The last thing I'll say about How the Frack We Got Here, it's all about staying informed. We are not trying to change minds, persuade others. We're trying to do what news stations of old try to do. Give you all the information, allow you to make up your mind for yourself. We do a lot better as a society once we're informed. We're progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs of our past by making those decisions now that we should have done back then, like electing our first Madam Vice Black President. Which, again, I'm going to cover that because Harris has been mighty quiet. But again, hopefully in 2024, I'm hoping for Michelle and Barack to come back, because I would love to say Madam President Michelle Obama, and I would like to say Chief Supreme Court Justice Barack Obama, because let's be honest, I felt way better when Michelle was in the White House. That being said, guys, thank you all for watching. If you watch this on the playback, please come if it's live. I still want to know what you guys thought about everything we talked about. Aside from that, guys, take care of yourselves and each other, and we will all get through this. Peace.